Our second edition. Welcome to Inside Grand Prix. This time, Formula One's roaring into Albert Park, Melbourne. But before we deal with fast cars, we've got an ample helping of Australian flair. Australia, for many people, simply the dream country. Endless open space, rugged crags, green meadows, the dusty outback, white sandy beaches and irresistible cities. That's all part of life down under. The Australians love their country and their sport. Australian football, surfing and, of course, Formula One. Whenever Webber and Co are in town, the crowds come flocking.
Well, I think I'm very lucky to have a home Grand Prix because not all the drivers have a home race to compete in. Australia is a very, very good event. I'm very proud of it because if you're a mechanic or a photographer or for the press, everyone seems to enjoy the event, so that's something that I'm proud of, and yeah, I look forward to racing there every year.
You can feel the enthusiasm for sport everywhere. In terms of moving around, the Australians can hardly be stopped. The possibilities in the sixth largest country on earth are phenomenal. That's also precisely what makes Australia so interesting to its visitors. We all like coming to Australia because the atmosphere, the city and the people are simply very interesting and make it great fun. It's really a shame that it's so far away, otherwise we'd go there more often. For Australia really does have a lot to offer. There are the Aborigines in the outback, the weirdest road signs in the world, and animals that tend to be rather rare elsewhere, especially ones that are tame and okay to touch. The lifestyle and Australia as a travel destination are for me as good as it gets. I really like it here a lot. Formula One driver or tourist, the seventh continent is always worth a visit. That's not just due to the country itself. The Australians are very laid-back people who are open and warm-hearted towards their guests. The more casual lifestyle, especially in the major cities, makes Australia one of the nicest stops on the Formula One calendar. It's always nice to go to Australia anyway, and to experience the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne is simply worth a journey on its own. Melbourne's a very appealing city. However, the fly in the ointment this season is that the race is taking place relatively late on, so it's quite possible that we could run into bad weather. It is, you see, the end of the Australian summer. Nevertheless, Melbourne and its 4 million residents are ready for the second showdown of the year. No time now for Australia's natural beauty. The drivers do have a keen eye, however, for this special award. They're to win once again this year the cherished Fastest Lap trophy. Simply do the most fastest laps and hey presto, you've got more silverware on the mantelpiece. The Fastest Lap Trophy is clearly an interesting award because you can then see who's the fastest in each of the races overall. I've personally had 2 fastest laps so far in my career. It's not many, but perhaps I can build on that some more this year. 1 race so far, so 1 point for the fastest man in Bahrain, Fernando Alonso. And so to the championship tables. The driver's table looking initially unfamiliar due to the new point system. Alonso leads ahead of Massa and Hamilton. In the team standings, Ferrari are in pole. Lurking behind them, McLaren, Mercedes GP and Red Bull Racing. Still to come, previously unseen footage of car presentations. First, our 2 experts talk about a circuit in Melbourne.
Welcome to Melbourne, welcome to the Grand Prix of Australia. This race has been popular with drivers and fans from the start. One reason is obviously the beautiful setting in Albert Park. This, however, presents a very special challenge for a Formula One car. Leaves falling from trees beside the track can easily block the air intakes of the cooling system. If this happens, the engine soon gets overheated and a worst-case scenario may even break down. That's why the mechanics have to clean the intakes at every pit stop, which gives them just under 4 seconds to shear. But for a driver, the track also has some challenges. Am I right, Nico?
Yeah, it's true. Melbourne is also very challenging. It has a good variation of slow, medium and high-speed corners. I found personally turn 8 is quite challenging because it's a very high-speed corner and it's getting very narrow there at the exit. So I'm looking forward to race there.
Fast, which here means in 6th gear and at over 250 kilometers an hour through the extended corner, then braking down hard into the Clark chicane. Through the following left-hander alongside Albert Lake, the drivers also touched the 300 mark. However, it's not these high-speed stretches that give the Melbourne circuit its character. The teams therefore tend to pick a setup more geared to the key points along the track.
For Melbourne, the key points are slow-speed corners. You're looking for slow-speed corner grip all the time. The balance of the car will generally tend to be understeer because it's slow speed, but you're just looking for traction and slow-speed grip.
And this grip's needed in particular on the final stretch of the circuit. Ascari, Stewart, Senna and Prost now follow. 4 hairy corners, one after the other. You've got to be faultless here and defend the ideal line to take speed with you onto the finishing straight and into lap 2 of 58.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, Nico, for Sunday.
Coming up, the latest rumours from the paddock. But now to the only driver with home advantage. Country and man, 2 of a kind, honest, open and friendly. 3 attributes that apply both to Mark Webber and his home country, Australia. Having arrived in Formula One as a promising talent in 2002, some fairly average years then followed. But with his current team Red Bull, he's coming on well and celebrated his first 2 race victories last year. Webber thus counts as one of the favourites for 2010.
I hope that it is time for a new world champion from Australia, but we only have, of course, 2 ever, and I'm going to give it a good push this year. It's something I'm very excited about. Last year I had some very good parts of the championship which went very, very well for me, and there's no reason to suggest I cannot have another good fight in 2010.
A perfectionist who always wants maximum success both on and off the track. Formula One races are not enough for the sports-mad Webber, who gets out into the wilderness whenever he can, testing his own limits with the Mark Webber Tasmanian Challenge. 250 kilometres through Tasmania on foot, by kayak and by bike.
Yes, it is going to be tough. They are going to some spectacular places. There's going to be lots of moments where you think, we have to now do what? You know, we have to now do what? You know, and it's going to be tough. But, you know, you look back on it with some, you know, great memories of also the teams you race against, and I think in the end it'll be the race, the sting out of the race will go after 3 or 4 days. I think the last few days will literally be survival.
Typical Webber, always pushing the limit. For instance, after a serious cycling accident, he had himself shut in a cold room at -50 degrees to aid healing. Or he meets up with professional kickboxers in Singapore for grueling training. A man like Webber can take it and also properly dish it out if he has to. The Australian is a sportsman with many facets and unusual training methods. His idol, the greatest of all time.
Muhammad Ali would be nice to shake his hand. I mean, Ali is an amazing sportsman, but an amazing individual, and before his time, I mean, some of the things he did was just, he was so clever, away from the boxing ring and also in the boxing ring.
Formula One shows and bright lights are not his thing. Away from the track, Mark's friendly and modest, a likeable guy who doesn't put on any airs.